Welcome everyone to a new tutorial. This one's guaranteed to make you all warm and toasty like a pumpkin spice latte. We're going to start with the Folk Art Color Shift Black Flash. I'm going to use this on a 3.5-inch stone and paint the front side, let that dry, and then we'll flip it over, paint the other side, let that dry, and we'll be ready to put on a finishing spray on the back side only. It's beautiful paint. It's so beautiful and sparkly. Now to get the center of our design, I'm just cutting out a circle and I'm going to fold that into quarters and snip off the end, and that'll give me a little design here to put on top of the stone to put my center dot through. We're going to use the RedHeart Crystalite crochet hooks, and I'll give the sizes for these as we use them. We're going to start with the biggest one. And we're going to use some Martha Stewart Beetle Black satin paint to do our center dot. Normally we do a white dot in the center, but we're going to do black this time. We'll wipe that off on a damp paper towel and switch over to some light cinnamon with a little bit of titanium white mixed into it, because these paints will darken as they dry. So we're making a plus sign now. 1, 2, 3, 4 dots, evenly spaced, and we're going to go work section by section. On the first section, we're going to do a middle dot in between those two, and then put 2 more dots on either side of the middle dot. Just like that. And we're going to do that in the next section, and then eventually all the way around the stone. Now I'm going to mix in a little bit of Martha Stewart Mother of Pearl and add some of the brown to that to give us a lighter shade of the same tone to offset the next row. And I'm using my smallest tool, my manicure. This isn't my manicure stylus, that is the polymer clay sculpting tool. Now we're going to use the Americana Honey Brown and the first tool in the crochet hook set, and offset the next row, but we're going to skip a dot. Set it right in there. Try and get as close as you can without touching the other dots. And now some Martha Stewart Marmalade. I'm going to mix in a little bit of the honey brown with that just to bring it down a little bit. It was a little bright. Mix in a little titanium white and use the next size tool. And we're going to put the orange dots in there between the honey brown ones. Now I'm taking some of that orange and mixing it in with the cinnamon and adding just a little bit of black. I want a dark brown dot here, almost like chocolate. Adding my next row. And now some of this wonderful golden fluid iridescent gold. You can use any metallic gold here. I just like the tone of this particular paint. Makes beautiful dots. And when they're dry, they're very shiny, almost like little beads. So I'm going to cover this little set with some damp paper towel and set it aside because we're going to need it later. And now I'm using the Martha Stewart Flame, which is a very bright dark orange. Mix in a little bit of titanium white. And we're going to use the green tool this time. And set that orange dot right in next to the small gold dots. Back to the marmalade color, the little lighter shade of orange. Again, mixing in some white. And I'm going to walk those dots using my small polymer clay sculpting tool, and I wanted to show you how I'm resting my one hand on the other to do this. This gives me a little bit more control for the tiniest dots. See, it's a very small tool all the way around. Now I'm adding some yellow here. I'm going to put the yellow in and then mix a little bit of the orange in with that, add some titanium white, This just gives me another value of the orange, a little bit lighter. And I'm going to walk a second row of dots. Again, staying very small, but I made a mistake, and I always keep my pointy Q-tips handy to get these mistakes off, because when they dry, they're really, really hard to get off. So if you move quickly, you can get them off and then go back and start over, and you can do it without having to wash off the whole rock. So always keep your Q-tips handy. Back to the Martha Stewart Mother of Pearl. I'm going to mix that with an equal amount of the titanium white to give me my white dots. Using the manicure stylus for that row. And now I'm going back to the darker orange to add a second row of orange dots. And if you have a smaller stone and you don't have room for a second row, you can just leave it just as it was. Or if you have a larger stone, you can add a third row. I had just enough room for 2 rows of petals. I'm going to cover those up and go back to my original palette. I let this dry a little bit, and then I started to do some top dots. The first was with the honey brown, and I put it on the wrong color there, so it's good to let this dry completely. In case you get a mistake, you can get it up with a Q-tip without ruining the dot that's underneath. And then some light orange top dots. Doing it on that second row of petals as well. And then while that dried, I walked a third row of small dots in the iridescent gold to finish off the edge of the stone. Had to kind of get that on the side. And then I went back here. I didn't like those brown top dots on the orange, so I went back and changed the color on those. And then added some flame for the top dots again on top of those. So I've got 3 top dots on that brown row. You just have to be patient and let these dry. And now some white top dots, just to give those a little bit more of a boost. Little tiny top dots on these. And we're all done. I let this dry overnight with another stone that I did, and then in the morning I took them out to get their finishing spray. And if you have room, just walk around them, make sure you get all sides, otherwise you can turn the tray. Let that dry, and then this design really needed some sparkles to make it our pumpkin spice mandala, so I added some tangerine in the empty space between the 2 petals. And I'm using this new glue. It's very, very stringy, and you kind of have to twirl it around so the strings don't come and lay across your stone. Get them all in there, and I'm just going to change the lighting here a little bit so you can see the sparkles in a different light. See how that adds it. Really? Thanks for watching, everybody.